The film opens in ancient China, where Emperor Khan witnessed his daughter, Turandot, enter the throne room and trip over a hole in the carpet, which caused her to cry. He explained that the carpet represented the continent, and the hole was a small, peaceful kingdom called Malvia, with which they had not yet established relations. To fill the hole and complete the carpet, Khan sent his men, led by General Boyan, to Malvia. In Malvia, the royal family wore 3 magic bracelets, one for the king, one for the queen, and one for the prince. These bracelets were a family heirloom, and no one was supposed to wear all 3 at the same time, as doing so would grant immense power, but also a terrible curse. The young Prince Calaf was being trained in sword fighting by his master Zhou and was quickly picking up the Chinese style of fighting. Their peace was shattered when Boyan's army attacked, first with flaming arrows and then by storming the castle. The Malvian soldiers fought bravely to defend their home, but they were no match for the larger army, which easily overpowered and killed anyone who resisted. After winning the battle, Boyan and his men discovered the 3 bracelets next to the bodies of the royal family and took them to the emperor. For Turandot's birthday, she was opening countless gifts when she found the box containing the bracelets. She put 2 on and offered the 3rd to her father, but he placed it on her arm as well. This immediately activated the curse. The bracelets changed shape and tightened, causing Turandot to cry out in pain. She could not remove them, and soon after she lost the ability to see color. When Khan approached with a knife to try and remove the bracelets, Turandot saw his face as a skeleton and fainted. Later, the high priest informed Khan that the curse could only be lifted by a future suitor. When Turandot turned 15, she would share 3 riddles, and whoever solved them would break the curse but would also be risking his own life. If the curse wasn't broken by the time she turned 18, her heart would turn to ice and she would lose her mind. Meanwhile, it was revealed that Zhou had escaped with Calaf, who had lost all his memories. To protect him, Zhou changed the boy's name to Blue Eyes and brought him to his hometown, where he reunited with his family. Blue Eyes quickly befriended Zhou's daughter, Luer. Years later, Blue Eyes was a teenager, determined to master the art of fireworks. Luer had become like a sister to him and often teased him while he was practicing. One morning, she played a prank on him that ruined his firework and used up his last bit of gunpowder. To apologize, Luer took Blue Eyes to the mines, where they snuck around to watch the masters create beautiful fireworks that formed shapes like a phoenix. Unfortunately, a guard spotted them, forcing them to run through the mine. The guards tried to stop them, but the pair pushed them away and jumped over furniture to slow them down. Just as the guards were about to catch up, the firework master threw sparks at them, allowing Blue Eyes and Luer to escape through a hidden tunnel. At the palace, Boyan checked on Turandot, who had grown into a beautiful but cold princess. Khan wanted Boyan to train her, so she had no choice but to fight him. Because of the curse, Turandot had special abilities and could move at incredible speed, so at first, Boyan couldn't land a single hit. However, when he broke her loom to grab a piece of wood, she began attacking him directly, revealing that her swordsmanship was still weak. Offended by his criticisms, Turandot ran outside at super speed and waited for Boyan to cut his cheek. He then swapped the wood for his actual sword. By looking at his reflection on the metal, Boyan managed to grab and quickly disarm Turandot. At that moment, Blue Eyes and Luer emerged from the tunnel into the palace garden. Seeing Boyan grabbing Turandot, Blue Eyes misunderstood the situation and came to her defense, using her sword. Thanks to his master's teachings, Blue Eyes put up a good fight, and Boyan recognized it as Zhou's style. The 2 men continued to exchange blows, and Boyan's experience eventually overpowered Blue Eyes. As Boyan was about to stab him, Luer tried to stop him with her whip. Boyan easily pushed it away and brought his sword down, but Turandot inserted her arm, and the sword broke against the bracelets. A large group of guards then appeared to arrest the intruders, but Turandot declared that the 2 were with her and that she would personally train Blue Eyes from now on. The 2 teenagers began training together every day, and a deep bond formed between them. Turandot was particularly impressed by Blue Eyes, as he was able to keep up with her despite her cursed abilities. One afternoon, while they were jumping around the palace grounds during a training session, Blue Eyes accidentally touched her bracelets and was flooded with flashbacks of his homeland's invasion, though he did not understand their meaning. In the meantime, Boyan went to the high priest and asked him to make him incredibly powerful. The priest attempted to perform a special ritual in a small, secret lake inside a cave, which was supposed to cover Boyan in gold, but it failed and the gold disappeared. Boyan then wondered if he would have to kill Khan to gain power, but the priest suggested he could marry Turandot instead. Sometime later, Blue Eyes missed Turandot so much that he decided to visit her during a full moon. The one night he was told to stay away. When he snuck into her room, he found her tied up with multiple pieces of fabric. Ignoring her warnings to leave, he began cutting her free. The bracelets were digging into her skin more than usual, and as soon as she was freed, her eyes changed, and she saw Blue Eyes as a skeleton. The curse took over, and Turandot turned the fabric into a weapon to attack Blue Eyes, who spoke to her with sincere words while blocking her with his sword. His words helped her snap out of it, but she was angry that he had broken her rule and nearly gotten himself killed, so she demanded that he never come back. A few days later, Blue Eyes became a royal guard and was part of the team protecting Prince Uthong of Lamphu, who was visiting their town for a festival. Turandot was still locked in the palace, keeping herself busy by using her powers on her looms to work faster. Many men had died attempting to solve her riddles, but Khan insisted she try again with the prince who had just arrived. Back in town, Blue Eyes was off duty and enjoying the festival with Liuer and her friend Yuang. They noticed that Uthong had a very fancy dagger. Liuer used her whip to send it flying, and Yuang caught it and immediately ran away. Uthong began chasing Yuang through the town. After a lot of jumping, he managed to catch him, but Yuang threw the dagger to another friend and told him to run. Meanwhile, the prince's bodyguard attacked Liuer, but he was too slow, and she easily dodged all of his moves, jumping around with her whip. Liuer then tried to escape by climbing a weak structure, and the bodyguard decided to bring it down. However, Liuer jumped away just before she could get hurt. At that moment, Uthong appeared while chasing the other guy. Before the structure could hit him, Blue Eyes saved him just in time. Afterward, Blue Eyes made Liuer return everything she had stolen and showed Uthong around the festival. He also took him into the mines, where he made a small tree firework to bless the prince. Uthong then revealed that he had come to solve the riddles and that his brother had died trying. He could tell that Blue Eyes loved the princess and announced that they were now sworn brothers. The next day, Uthong visited Turandot, pretending to be there for the riddles. However, he pulled out a dagger and tried to kill her for what happened to his brother. Turandot moved quickly and caught the dagger as he threw it at her. She then commanded her threads to knock down the bodyguard and capture Uthong, reminding him that his brother had accepted the terms of the contract. During a public ceremony, Khan announced that he would forgive Uthong if he could answer the riddles. As a guard, Blue Eyes watched the sun reflect on the bracelets, which caused him to have another flashback of a massacre filled with blood, violence, and bodies. Wanting answers, Blue Eyes stepped forward and asked Uthong to let him answer the riddles. Khan wanted to know why he was doing this, so Blue Eyes lied, saying that it was his duty as Uthong's sword brother. With the crowd chanting their support, Khan agreed to give him a chance. The high priest started the ceremony, explaining that fireworks would go off if Blue Eyes gave the correct answer, and that he would be executed if he failed. Turandot approached, and Blue Eyes confessed that he was doing this to save her, but she simply responded with the riddle whispered to her by the bracelets: "What is born of darkness and dies at dawn?" Blue Eyes concentrated on finding the answer and had a vision of his mother guiding him through the castle. The vision then changed to the day of the massacre, during which his severely wounded father, the king, appeared. As the guards failed to keep the invaders out, the queen grabbed all the bracelets and forced them onto her husband's arm, saying there was no other choice. While the king absorbed the new power, the queen tried to fight, but was pushed away. The curse finally took over the king, who grabbed a sword and showed great power, easily beating down the enemy, roaring and fighting multiple men as if they were nothing. In the present, a bell announced that Blue Eyes' time was up. Since he had no answer, he was taken away to be executed. As he was being carried to his death, Blue Eyes had another vision of his mother telling him to leave with Zoe because he was the kingdom's only hope. Seeing it as a sign, he yelled that the answer was hope, causing one of the bracelets to break. However, Turandot was in the palace and no one saw this, so before Blue Eyes could be killed, Zoe jumped in to rescue him. After knocking down a few guards, he threw a lance and saved Blue Eyes' falling body just before it landed in boiling water. At that moment, fireworks began to explode in the sky, confirming his answer was correct. Afterward, Boyan stole a piece of the broken bracelet and ordered his men not to let the fireworks explode even if Blue Eyes got another answer right. The next day, it was raining as Turandot shared the second riddle. Women are beautiful for it. Men are unsettled for it. Yet they die together when it turns into unbreakable ice. Blue Eyes concentrated, and another vision showed him that his father, seeing everyone as skeletons, lost control to the point of killing his own men. Zo took the little Caliph away, and the queen jumped in to protect them, only to be killed by the king. Once again, time ran out, and Blue Eyes had no answer. He was tied to a pole and sentenced to 1,000 cuts. As the executioner began to hurt him, the pain caused Blue Eyes to have another vision. The queen's death made the king snap out of his curse, and the grief and guilt caused him to break his sword and take his own life. In the present, Blue Eyes announced that the answer was blood, and another bracelet quickly broke at the palace. The servants tried to shoot a firework with an arrow, but the rain made it fall into a puddle. To make matters worse, Boyan's men showed up to stop them from trying again. While a fight ensued in the palace, it was announced at the ceremony that Blue Eyes would be executed. Zo suddenly yelled that the rain might be interrupting the fireworks, so Boyan decided to fight him, as he revealed they were brothers. Yuthong, his bodyguard, Liuer, and her friends proceeded to fight the guards so that Zo could confront Boyan, using special sword tricks to get the upper hand. Liuer tried to reach Blue Eyes, but there were too many guards, and she was pushed off the platform. Zo ignored Boyan and decided to join the fight against the soldiers to save Blue Eyes. However, Liuer was captured, and everyone was forced to stop. At the palace, Turandot used her magic to kill all the soldiers, quickly saving the servants before finding the arrow. At that moment, Blue Eyes insulted Boyan, who threw his sword in retaliation, but the sword was stopped by magic. Turandot flew down onto the platform and announced that Blue Eyes had given the correct answer, so he was freed. That night, Blue Eyes told Zo that he finally remembered everything and agreed to leave the kingdom that had killed his people. The next day, Blue Eyes and Liuer were ready on their horses, but Zo was late. Suddenly, they were surrounded by Boyan's men, who began chasing them through an open field. Blue Eyes decided to fight, but as soon as the battle started, Turandot's men stopped them, disarming all the soldiers and scaring them away. Blue Eyes then tried to escape, but Turandot blocked his way and caused him to fall. Her servants captured Liuer and surrounded Blue Eyes with their horses, hitting him a few times to make their point. When Turandot demanded an explanation, Blue Eyes admitted that he regretted accepting the riddle contract and challenged her to a fight. In just a few moves, Turandot overpowered him and began reciting the last riddle. It can give you freedom just as it can enslave you. You light the ice, and you get more coldness in return. As Blue Eyes took the chance to escape her grasp, Turandot begged for help, but he refused and stepped forward, causing her sword to stab him in the chest. Blue Eyes whispered her name before passing out, and suddenly, Turandot's arm began to hurt. It turned out that her name was the answer, and the bracelet broke, causing her to faint as well. When the servants rushed to help her, Turandot woke up, her skin losing its paleness as color finally returned to her eyes, allowing her to see the beauty of nature. Sometime later, the royal medic was taking care of Blue Eyes and explained to Khan that the boy had survived because his organs were on the other side. Turandot came to visit him and announced that the next day was their wedding, but Blue Eyes told her to first learn who he really was, or he would not marry her. While Khan sent his men out to discover Blue Eyes' identity, Boyan took a piece of every bracelet and gave them to the high priest, who threw them into the small lake to start the ritual. Boyan stepped into the water, and dark magic took over his body, filling him with great power. Once the ritual was over, Boyan tested the results with his sword, but all his wounds instantly healed. He then stabbed the high priest for knowing too much. In the evening, Blue Eyes was getting drunk at a restaurant because he hated the fact that he loved the daughter of the enemy. Hearing this, Liuer rushed to tell Turandot the truth. Meanwhile, Boyan visited Zo to ask him about Blue Eyes. Zo refused to talk, and a fight ensued. No matter how many times Zo hurt him, Boyan's wounds always healed. Desperate to survive, Zo escaped through the window. At the same time, the high priest arrived at the mines to beg for help. Moments later, Blue Eyes tried to enter his home, only to be captured by Boyan and his men. When they were about to take him away, mysterious soldiers arrived and killed some of Boyan's men before their leader shot an arrow at him. Boyan caught it with his hand and threatened to kill Blue Eyes, knowing the archer was Turandot. He then revealed that he had found a jacket with the insignia of the Malvian royal family, which meant Blue Eyes was the enemy. Turandot did not care and offered to accept any condition to save Blue Eyes, so Boyan asked her to marry him. The next morning, Blue Eyes was taken to see Khan, who decided to free him even though he was the enemy, as thanks for saving his daughter. Blue Eyes still wanted revenge, and when Boyan tried to silence him, he was interrupted by Turandot, who brought the high priest and the truth. Ka's orders for Boyan's army when they visited Malvia were only to establish peaceful relations. However, Boyan thought Ka had gotten soft and that they should be conquering more land, a sentiment his soldiers agreed with. He then killed the envoy and made it look like Malvia had done it to start a war. Back in the present, Boyan confirmed the story and used a piece of armor to kill the priest before calling for his soldiers, who immediately stormed the palace and killed the servants. Boyan then revealed that he had brought fireworks disguised as a wedding gift and shot flaming arrows at them to make them explode. However, the firework master had guessed his intentions, and the fireworks formed a huge dragon that attacked Boyan's army, defeating it in a matter of seconds. Seeing his soldiers go down made Boyan mad, and he quickly killed several royal guards. He then challenged Ka for the throne, and the emperor accepted, thinking he could defeat him with a sword made from a meteor. As he started hitting Boyan, Ka was shocked to see the sword breaking little by little. A smug Boyan pushed him away, and the rest of Ka's people attacked him, going after the remaining soldiers as well. A brutal battle took over the throne room as people showed off their skills with a variety of weapons, including Luer's whip and the strength of Uthong's bodyguard. Blue Eyes and Zoe fought Boyan together, but their weapons were useless. They managed to kick Boyan against a table, only for him to grab a knife and throw it at Zoe's chest. Furious, Blue Eyes tried to fight him, but was overpowered again. Turandot tried to save him, and Boyan retaliated by choking her, but he let go when he saw Zoe stand up. Boyan jumped on his brother and tried to kill him, so Luer grabbed his arm with her whip, only to be thrown away. Blue Eyes then threw a box at Boyan's head before Turandot dragged him out of the palace. Boyan immediately followed them, giving Uthong and the others the chance to defeat the last of his soldiers and win the battle. Using the secret tunnel, Blue Eyes and Turandot arrived at the mines and shot fireworks at Boyan, but nothing could hurt him. He started destroying the place, and Blue Eyes pushed Turandot down before she could get hurt. He then lit bigger fireworks, which destroyed Boyan's armor and burned his skin, yet he always recovered. Eventually, the fireworks brought down a statue that fell on top of Boyan, bringing him down. Thinking it was over, the teens were about to share a kiss. But suddenly, Boyan emerged from the debris. Blue Eyes rushed to attack him, but Boyan broke his sword and pushed him back. Turandot then tried to attack him as well. When Boyan hit her, she spat blood on his shoulder and noticed it was hurting his skin for real. As she flew back, she threw her blood-covered sword at Blue Eyes, who caught it as he slid to stab Boyan. Thanks to the blood, the sword went through this time and shocked Boyan, who immediately burned down. Afterward, Blue Eyes rushed to Turandot's side. She finally called him Calaf and told him where to find the secret of the fireworks before she died in his arms. The next day, Calaf began traveling back to Malvia. He stopped at various cities along the way and always lit huge, beautiful fireworks to bless the locals. When he finally returned home to rebuild his kingdom, Calaf became king and celebrated with more fireworks. At his side, he saw Turandot's ghost, who lit a firework too before disappearing. So, what did you think of the movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.